You're crazy.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Viall Files Bachelor Recap Edition. I am your host, Nick, joined by the team, Allie, Amanda, and most importantly, well, not most importantly, everyone's equal, Chrissy, who has decided to turn off her mic for this intro, and it's fine. I'll just take it from here. We have an amazing guest this episode for our recap. One, Rachel Harris. You might know her from hit TV shows like Lucifer, Suits, also movies like The Hangover. Hilarious, very talented actor. Also a huge super fan of The Bachelor. Helps break down episode 6, week, I don't know, whatever it is of The Bachelor. Week 5, I don't know. But it's episode 5. It's so confusing this season. I don't know. But we break it down. Lots to talk about. Make sure to check us out on Wednesday. The wonderful Kelly Mee Lee is with us from Bling Empire. If you don't know about Bling Empire, it is the new hot trending reality TV show based off of, or loosely based off of, Crazy Rich Asians. Great conversation, delightful person, very interesting, fabulous conversation with her. Be sure to check that out. Send your questions to asknick@castme.com. Cast with the K. We got some fun merch out there, some updated merch that you might want to check out. So be sure to check that out at viallfiles.com. Send us your reviews. We'd really appreciate it. Other than that, let's get to Rachel Harris. Rachel, so happy you could join us.
I'm so honored.
I'm really quite thrilled. We've crossed paths a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge fan of yours. I like to think we're fond of each other.
Oh, I think we are very fond
So
of each
exciting.
other. Yeah.
And every time we've crossed paths, we've had always a brief conversation about the show, of which you are a fan, and
Yeah.
wonderfully opinionated. And I feel like this is going to be an excellent time and a lot of fun breaking this episode down.
Like I said, not much happened in this episode.
Yeah. I think let's just get right into it. There was a lot to talk about. What we're in episode 5. I, to be honest, am confused. Where are we in Bachelor weeks? Is it week 4, week 5? Where are we?
No, it's like in the middle between week 4, like week 5 and weeks. Yeah.
I don't even know.
It's
Do we know?
episode 5, but we're like in the middle between week 5 and week 6.
Are they in Pennsylvania?
They are.
Okay.
Yes.
And also, just side note, at one time only this season, I think that they flashed exactly the chateau that they're in.
They did this episode.
That
It was
was
a
very-
weird.
It was a record scratch.
It must have been some sort of signage that was negotiated.
Well, are they telling us now exactly where they were because the season is completely over there? Or that's just, you know what? You're going to get to
think
know
it's like
a lot of
part
things
of the
that go into my
property.
brain.
Well, I mean,
Right?
there's definitely
Isn't it like
some
part of the property. They keep showing little parts of the property.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, they took over this place. Certainly, I don't know how they do it, but there's some signage and there's some.
But
money
what I love is
exchanged.
that
don't know.
how the girls keep referring to it as the house, like they're in a sorority house.
The house. It's a city.
I call that like a resort,
Yeah, I don't know. I've never thought about that. That they're
like a sorority house,
Well, you have the
which says a lot.
They go from the Bachelor Mansion, which is a large house, to
Yeah.
a hotel, and they go from calling it a mansion to the house.
Right?
Interesting.
But they've never been in either a manse or a
Okay,
house.
That's true. It was a cocktail party before the rose ceremony.
Yeah,
Matt comes in, and he has been notified by Katie
by Katie.
that there's some mean girl behavior going on. Katie
Right.
just,
Katie, whose behavior
But there was also the walk
has
off.
permanently put her in the friend zone. I love Katie,
yeah.
but Katie is the Mrs. Garrett of like Facts of Life. Like she's like the house. Thank you for getting that. Am I dating myself? I love Katie, and I think she's really funny. And
It's Mr. Belvedere.
yes, she's very smart.
Yeah.
And I think she's actually overqualified for that show.
Do you think she's self-aware to know that her and Matt really aren't a thing?
Yeah.
And she knows it, and she's just playing along?
Well, I think she's in. Yeah, I think that if look, I empathize with these women because if I were in my 20s on that show, I don't know where you would come up with the emotional maturity to get through it. I really don't. But Katie seems to be on the older side of 20, right?
Yeah.
And so
And
she
despite
knows
her
it.
age, regardless, she seems like someone who seems to be thoughtful and well thought out.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
doesn't mind confrontation.
What I was going to say is I think that she's you know, it's hard to admit, like, I don't have the same chemistry that he has with Rachel or Michelle. You know, I think that that's probably hard for her because she's probably always been like the quirky character girl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not the hot girl that all the guys go for.
It's always interesting in these situations watching The Bachelor is what Katie doesn't realize is that it's probably great for her that Matt's not that into her, because if she was as opinionated as she is while also getting Matt's attention, everyone would turn on her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She would be the one that was like thinking she was smarter than everyone else.
Be like, really? Who do you think you are? If she got all these roses, it would be game over for Katie.
Because also she is emotionally more mature than
Yeah, no, she is.
98%
It's one of those,
of the
you're in a
women.
city situation.
Yeah.
Do you think you're smarter than me? I mean, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I know.
Like,
And
what do I want?
and that's-
What do you want me to say with
that-
this question?
That's
you know?
but also she was also the person that came on the show with the dildo and was very, you know, comfortable with it. And I think that's a level of like the great thing about Katie was that she could have fun with it and was very self-deprecating about it. She was also in the scenes where they were writing out all of their sexual fantasies. She was also very articulate and confident in that. And I think from me, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And I don't think he realizes how mature she is and how he could actually have a real relationship with someone who knows what they want sexually and is sex positive.
But
Or
he-
do you guys
yeah.
think that's crazy? Or am I off
Well, I get everything you're saying, except to like it's whatever Matt likes. You know what I'm saying? Like whoever he picks, I don't know how it's going to work out. I was actually thinking about this while watching this episode. Is that Rachel? Right? He had a great date with her. It seems like it's been looking like Rachel is maybe Matt's favorite, and Rachel is arguably one of the more traditionally pretty girls on the show.
Yeah.
And so there's
Yes.
always like the eye roll with like, of course he's. Listen, in that world, you have such limited time to make choices, and
she's like the safe choice.
sure, but what else are you going to do when you have 6 weeks to make a pick? You know, like sure,
know,
can
what
you
do-
fall in love
what
with
do you
someone
do,
outside
Nick?
of physical appearance? Sure, but that usually takes time, and it takes like a foundation of which you don't have the benefit of. So
like
you're just like,
real world
who am I
living.
most physically attracted to? And let's just hope that she's also cool.
Right. Like Dale and Claire. That worked out great.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, listen, it's not the most. There's a reason why it often doesn't work. You know, what do you want me to say?
I know, and yet I still come back and I watch it every season,
it could
knowing
work.
full well
Yeah,
this is going to end tragically.
I wouldn't. It's not a safe bet.
Right. Like everybody can't be Trista and Ryan.
Yeah.
Which was actually a really great. I love it.
But I get that's where I get. What I'm saying is I get a little defensive format because.
I'm not.
it's more. Yeah, it's like.
No. I don't think
Yeah.
Matt should be into Katie at all.
Yeah, okay.
No. That. Oh gosh, I wish I
wanna
had said that
make
10
sure.
minutes ago.
I just want to say
Just
that
wanna
like
make sure.
as much as it seems, the fact that Katie had the skill to bring on a vibrator and make it look good is not easy.
Yeah.
You know.
What skill do you
Because-
need to do that?
I don't know.
Well-
I'm just saying, you put that dildo in some of the other girls' hands and say, walk out of the limo and just,
Right.
make your choices. It may not. We
She
all
didn't-
loved Katie
I
for
see.
it.
She didn't
Saying.
use it inappropriately.
Yeah.
She wasn't
Yeah.
like it
She
wasn't
was
like
funny
she was
without being gross.
It was necessary.
Yeah.
It was like she wasn't leading with her sexuality. It
Yes.
wasn't like she was showing pictures of herself naked with, like with the like it wasn't
Yeah.
like she was
It was
she
just like, this is for me.
right.
Yeah. This is about me. Yeah. It wasn't like, we're going to
Cheers.
get weird.
No.
Yeah. And I
she just was like
Although there's nothing wrong with that.
right.
it takes a
no.
level of skill.
She's
I don't
like,
think
I'm
people.
gonna get down with myself.
We all both like Katie for the most part.
Yes, I'd want to be
Yes.
friends with Katie.
Yeah. So Matt is trying to find out what's going on with the Mean Girl group. I'm gonna give Anna some props. I was pretty hard on Anna last episode, and by pretty
rightly
hard,
so, because I told you I
yeah.
watched your and rightly so. I was with you. She at the end of that episode, I was like, she is a garbage human being.
Yeah, I didn't know how else to say it.
Wait, how is
No,
she
she's
still
a
not
trash.
a garbage human being?
I loved that she held herself accountable for
Yeah.
that because it is not easy. It was that moment when he said somebody is saying something about someone that could do damage to the rest of their life. That look on Anna's face when they're all sitting there waiting for the cocktail hour to start or cocktail party to start was heartbreaking because she knew it was that recognition immediately. Oh, fuck. I have really fucked myself. And I did it.
Yeah.
And there was no getting around it. She said, that was the worst of myself, and I wish I had never said that. So she was accountable. The only thing that was a bit of a bummer for me is that she didn't make a point to go to Brittany in that moment and say, I owe you an apology.
Yeah.
But that'll come later.
Yes.
It wasn't a home
fake.
run. It wasn't a home run. No, here's why I don't buy that it was totally fake.
I don't think it was fake.
Okay.
I don't think it was the best apology ever. It wasn't a home run. It was a solid double. And it was more for me,
Yeah.
her time in the limo when she wasn't talking to Matt, where she's like, Matt deserves better
Yes.
than a girl that did what I did. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's
Okay,
a really
that's fair.
that's a
That's
really
fair.
humbling thing to say.
It's a very self-aware
It's not
thing
even
to
a
do.
joke. It's
No.
just more like you took it on the chin. And yeah, she took
And
her beating, and I want to give her some props for that. It was
Yeah.
That's fair, but she wouldn't have thought any differently if she hadn't gotten caught. I 100% believe that.
we just assume that all vitamins are created equal, and that if they're vitamins, we should put them in our body, and that is just silly nonsense. If you don't know what is going into your vitamin, then stop putting it in your body. And the good news is Ritual takes that very seriously, because what they put in their vitamins is something they've built their entire company on. You deserve to know what you're putting in your body and why, especially when it comes to something that we take every day, like say a vitamin. Ritual's clean, vegan-friendly multivitamin is formulated with high-quality nutrients in bioavailable forms your body can actually take. Also, like, the dirty dick analogy applies.
You don't want a dirty dick.
You don't. It just makes
No.
a lot of sense. It works.
You don't want a vitamin with dirty contents either.
Well, it's true. We see vitamins, we're like, oh, it's vitamin whatever. And like, who knows what's actually in those vitamins?
You don't get shady extras. That's what they say over at Ritual.
No shady
Yeah.
extras with Ritual. Now available for women, men, teens, Ritual multivitamins are specifically developed to help support different life stages.
My favorite part about Ritual is that it has the mint tab inside of it. So even though you've got the fish oil in it, you never are burping up or you never have that fish oil taste, because they put that and they thought about that. And that's like my favorite part about it.
Yeah, and they're also delivered right to your door every month with free shipping. So once you get that habit of taking great vitamins, you won't get off of it. Get key nutrients without the BS. Ritual is offering my listeners 10% off during your first 3 months. Visit ritual.com/VIAL to start your Ritual today. There is no excuse to put regular deodorants or antiperspirants on your body any longer, not with an amazing natural deodorant like Each and Every. It's a deodorant I have been using for over a year every day on my body, smelling great without the worry of putting harmful toxins that come with traditional deodorants and antiperspirants like aluminum, parabens, and other stuff. I don't know. It's a bunch of crap that goes in normal deodorant, so much that I break out in a rash when I use regular deodorant, but not with Each and Every. And I am such an active person. I've never had anyone tell me I smell anything but delicious when I am wearing Each and Every. Delicious also, not even delicious.
Delicious also. Eat that deodorant.
Eat it. I smell sweet. I sweat sweeter. I know you're going to love Each and Every too, so make the switch. I've got a great offer for my listeners for a limited time only. You get 30% off your first purchase. So order now. Go to eachandevery.com/VIALL and use promo code VIALL. That is 30% off with promo code VIALL at eachandevery.com/VIALL. I didn't say I was wrong necessarily last week, but I think there's redemption in her future.
I think you're absolutely right. Also, I think when she sees it back, I get worried about these young women. I don't want them to be worried that this is going to mark them for the rest
Yeah.
of their life.
Well,
you
just
know?
like last week where we were comparing Victoria and Anna, it's like,
Dude.
what's the difference is it was, listen, I could see a world where Anna watches it back, is
Self-aware.
embarrassed, not necessarily doesn't excuse anything she did, but will apologize Victoria reminds you of someone who's just going to make excuses and downplay, which
Well,
is
she's
kind of
Glenn
what we
Close.
saw.
She's Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction.
Ooh,
But,
yeah.
I really went there.
Her parents never told her no. I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
a safe-
Something it is a parental. I really thought about this before we did.
You know
before
where I felt
came
really
here, because
sad
it was
for?
like,
I felt sad for Victoria this episode.
I did too.
Because she truly looked confused
Mhm.
and didn't understand what was going on. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh, you poor thing.
It's like someone missed something in the pre-interviews with with Victoria.
Or they didn't.
I know. And I thought, why didn't somebody flag this and say, this person is probably not going to do well in this scenario?
What do you mean by well?
I mean by...
We are making
I
a
know.
TV show.
When this rose ceremony was going down, right, and the music's playing, by the way, The Bachelor should win an Emmy for the editing of those first 30 minutes of that episode. Good Lord, that was like watching a psychological thriller. I was like, I envisioned Chris Harrison in the back
Laughing?
with everyone going, all right, everybody just hold on, breathe, waiting to see how she was going to react to not getting a rose, because there seemed to be some kind of episode happening for her.
Are you talking about the panic when it was before she got sent home, but after she talked to Matt and found out she was basically in trouble?
Yes.
Like up until this point, she was doing this shit.
Yeah, she was still in denial.
And for whatever reason, she was given the confidence to believe she was getting away with it. Matt either didn't notice it or whatever
Right.
it was.
Yes.
But then finally she had a conversation with Matt, which is like, Matt was basically saying, I've heard and I'm kind of accusing you of potentially being part of this problem.
Doing the exact same thing that Anna did.
And I just sent Hannah home.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden Victoria had I may have pushed
Yeah.
oh shit.
Like,
you know.
They're rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic
Yeah.
right now. And everything she was spiraling.
Which I really loved the backtracking.
Yo.
Like again, they are
I wanna
editing.
see the rough cuts.
Yes, and they're condensing it all because
Yeah.
it was fun to watch it all condensed. But I mean, there were women saying there's clearly a old versus new. There's a division, Sharks versus Jets, whatever you want to call it. Like
Yeah.
Michelle was just like, yeah, you basically got, when Michelle speaks, I listen.
Yes.
Like when she says something, I'm like, here's someone who's thought about what she's about to say. She's
Yeah.
another Katie. And she's like, yeah, you guys have been shitty to us. Like
Yeah.
there's clearly bullying going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the backtracking by Victoria and some of the other ones was
Oh,
awesome.
I'm a good person. I'm loyal.
Some of the apologies were so funny.
This isn't a toxic house.
Yeah.
I don't
This
know
isn't
why.
toxic.
I don't know. It's not.
As a professional actor yourself, did it seem like there were some performances on this episode?
No.
No.
I don't think Victoria was performing at all. I think she was in a full-on spiral
Yeah.
because there was no sense of accountability at all. And it just,
When she looked
just
confused,
kept-
that's where I felt sad for her.
in the moment when she just like puts her hand up to her head and like there were so many. Nick,
I've
it
never
was,
no.
It was painful.
Did you notice? And I don't think I've ever seen this. She's in the front row on the
Uh-huh.
rose ceremony. It's just the playing with the hair and the
Yes.
arm crossing.
It was Kristen Wiig, Saturday
Yeah.
Night Live.
I've
doing
never-
a bit, like yeah.
I mean, I've never seen that. I mean, granted, I've only been The Bachelor once, but through all the rose hair, and I've seen all the episodes. It's
Yeah.
like it's a weird room, right? And everyone's just like, it's very, in a weird way, it's very, handmaids, where everyone's
Dude.
just very like professional. You're the rose ceremony, it's straightforward. Paulie's there telling everyone to shut up and look forward, eyes front, and Victoria's just
She's just
arms crossed, like not giving a fuck.
oh my god,
It's
and
so
they put
wild.
Katie right
Shaking.
next to her. Yeah. We see Victoria sort of float to the back of the room. Did you notice
Yes,
this?
she was
That
in
all
the
the
back
women were,
behind all the girls,
and it felt like she had a moment of like, if I just don't say anything or move, maybe they won't
notice I'm still
realize
here.
that I didn't get a rose. It was horrifying. I'm sorry, I'm saying it was horrifying. And then she says,
I'm literally die.
Literally.
I'm gonna literally.
I'm lit.
The good news is she
Literally.
didn't die.
She didn't die.
She is still
But
alive.
I thought that there's so many through that entire 30 minutes. I can honestly say my jaw was like, like my jaw. I was like, and I kept being surprised. Like, what the fuck? I'm watching The Bachelor. Why is this like scaring the fuck out of me right now? And then when she comes forward and it's dead silent, and she's like, I just feel really sorry for you.
I mean, that was. I mean,
It was genius. It's fucking brilliant TV. But it was real.
Yeah.
That was not a performance. That was somebody really. I hope she has a lot of love around her. Like in that moment, I felt like I need to hug her and say, just stop. Just stop. Just stop, Victoria. You need to go off here, take some breaths, shake it off, and let's 5160 someone. Like, let's get an
Yeah.
Whoa.
when Anna was just like, I said this, and I know this is out of character for you, but I still have to send you home. What a great way to say I'm dumping you and still look like a nice guy. It's so subtle, but he's very good at that.
It was great. He just, he said, I think this is, I can no longer have you be a part of this journey.
But it was still complimenting Anna
Yeah.
at the same time. It was like, wow.
And it was great that he was saying to her, I have been in your situation before and you're going to be okay. And then when he said nothing to Victoria.
Well, I mean, what's he going to say?
No, it was really like, I'm like, well, this is a grown ass man.
That was the meanest Matt
This
could
is a
ever be,
mature
I
man.
think. Just not saying anything.
I think he
He's
was
definitely, if
speechless.
it's
I
no
don't
one
think
else-
anybody
yeah.
I don't think anybody would hold that against him though.
No, not at all. That was
I wonder
great.
if he has anything to say after hearing that she made fun of him after, because she made fun of him a bit afterwards in her like little interview.
Yeah, but recently, like
Oh,
Mac
yeah.
took some heat because his friend posted a video.
Yeah.
There was, you know, I mean, I guess he's done talking about Victoria.
I think Victoria should be done. I was shocked that she did it. Now having seen that she went on Good Morning America and did that interview, I thought, who's looking out for this woman?
Still didn't apologize. She,
Didn't
No,
apologize.
I just thought this is
I'm sorry if I hurt anyone's feelings.
Yeah.
Or
I'm
something.
sad people didn't see what a kind heart I have.
Yeah.
That was basically like
Everyone
the
else,
wraparound.
it's like everyone else's fault still.
I just want her to be okay.
I think Victoria is who she is. I'm more concerned for the Annas of the world who again.
I like Anna. I feel
have-
like it's just a case of being insecure and young and being scared and floundering.
Yeah, I feel like people like Anna potentially are still dangerous in the sense that if they feel insecure, they'll still do what she did. And that is spread a rumor with no consideration for what that rumor could do as long as they get what they want. Still a dangerous person, but there, again, is hope and redemption. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Victoria is just, this is who she is.
I think you're
and
right.
without maybe lots of therapy,
Exactly.
this is who she's going to be.
Exactly. I think there's some, dare I say, pathology there.
Maybe.
Okay.
Or
But I might be wrong. But the
the
bottom line is
the
I
other
think-
hope is that their hope is that maybe she should be acting.
Whew.
She should get an agent.
No, I don't want her.
Not if she's that good.
I don't know, dude. Well, if she's that good, she really does deserve an Oscar. I mean, she should make a lot of money for that. But I no, my guess is that's not acting.
Yeah. Do we give Kit a pass for clearly
No.
being friends with Victoria
No.
and not?
Kit was like in that
No.
opening scene where they're like walking
Yeah.
back and forth
Yeah.
together.
And she didn't.
Like,
According to the subtitles, didn't necessarily say anything. But she's. I mean, how
No,
do you?
she said she's disgusting, and she said you can't say this in front of the other women.
Oh, the Kit said that.
To Victoria.
Oh.
Yeah,
So we don't give
Well,
Kit. What do we
could be.
think of Kit?
I think Kit's really, honestly, I think she's just very young, and grew up with.
It was a slightly tough watch jumping ahead, hearing her be sad about her privilege.
Yeah.
Like, what does she supposed to do? I get that, but it just was a tough watch.
A very tough watch.
Yeah.
It was very tough. I think she's 21.
She's 21. And it's all relative. I guess for her,
21.
maybe her tears were sincere,
guys.
but I wish there would have been a little bit more like, fuck, what am I supposed to say? It's been pretty fucking lucky for me.
I think it should be addressed that like you can't talk shit about people like that. But I do think she's 21, and dear God, if you couldn't pay me to go back and live my 20s, no, and that's like prime.
she's like, no, just no.
Just
so
separate.
after we send home Anna and Victoria, we are left with Abigail Bree.
I love Abigail.
Catalina's also sent home.
Mari was sent home. Lauren.
How was Mari? We're
I was
surprised
shocked about that.
Mari just like, what? I thought
She
Mari
won the
could.
squirrel contest and then she's gone. How rude.
I thought she was going to be something. I thought she very attractive. She could have been one of Matt's front runners. She could have been a winner. She could have been a
Yeah.
villain. She had a bit of a villain look to her. She
She had a very like
she just
Cleopatra kind of like
she just
exotic
disappeared.
look. Yeah,
Did Lauren go home in this rose ceremony too?
Yeah, Lauren
Also,
did too.
Lauren.
Lauren, who got a group date rose.
Wait, who's Lauren?
Yep.
Wow. See, there you go.
She's the attorney, right?
Yeah, I was convinced Lauren was going to get a.
Lauren. Yeah.
I was
yeah,
convinced
yeah.
she was going to get a one-on-one, but yeah, I guess Matt's group date roses don't mean as much as which I actually don't
Well,
mind.
don't
Keeps
tell
you guessing.
Chelsea.
Don't tell Chelsea. Which that was a weird one when Chelsea got a.
Matt, I'm more confused.
But I
and
like Chelsea. Anyway.
I'm more confused and uncertain about my choices than I am on most seasons.
Who are your choices right now?
in terms like Matt's potential picks?
Mm-hmm.
Rachel, I think, is a clear front runner now.
Exactly.
We suspected she could be,
Mm-hmm.
and after this date, it was a one-on-one date that had a lot of winner potential vibe to it.
Mhm. Yeah. I think it's this is just a production thing where I think it's so cruel to have Rachel, like whoever goes on the shopping date, walk in with 75 bags in front of
yeah.
all the other girls.
Yeah.
It's just really cruel. So I just want to say note to like they're all just gonna they all just have to like brave face it, stiff upper
Yeah,
lip,
but
and
look
be
at
like,
all that like
"That's
emotion
great.
it brought. That
It's
was
great.
Yeah.
It's great for
perfect
Rachel.
producing.
Yeah,
I know.
because again, you're there's a lot of seed planting for future harvest, and while Rachel is, she doesn't seem to be disliked in the house, and the women might not even turn on her, but it just pisses everyone off.
Yeah.
And as long as we're pissing everyone off, it's gonna pay off somewhere down the road.
And also, I love when they're like, "Oh my god, thank you so much for showering me with all these gifts," and I'm like, "Matt's
Yeah.
not paying for that.
It
Production's
doesn't
paying
matter.
for this."
Yeah, it does. They don't care. It doesn't matter.
It's so. I'm like, it's just not going to be this way when the cameras stop rolling and the lights are put away and you guys are off on your own at a restaurant.
And Matt never wears a turtleneck again.
That's right.
Should we dive into? Well, let's just get into Rachel and Matt's date. I disagree on that because this is clearly a Matt choice with the turtlenecks. Like,
Now it is.
yeah, like
It's gotta be. It's like every episode now.
Rothy's shoes. They also make bags, and gotta love a company that's taking plastic and turning it into fashion that stands the test of time because you can just throw it right in your washing machine whenever you get a little bit of dirt on it. Also, there's no break-in period. They are comfortable from the get, and you feel good because you're helping the environment. You're no longer worrying about like, where's this plastic going? It's going on my feet and I'm looking hot, and I'm putting like it's also a bag, and I wish they made it for me, but they don't. So all you ladies out there listening can benefit from the fantastic fashion that Rothy's is putting out there with their great designs. Check out all the amazing shoes, bags, masks available right now at rothys.com/VIAL. That is ROTHYS.com. Rothys.com/VIALL. Style, sustainability, meet to create your new favorites. Head to rothys.com/VIALL today. If you must know, there's 2 full days of fitting in which they buy a bunch of clothes, or not pull a bunch of clothes, and then you
And yes, I must know.
you do a bunch of fittings. You pick out other things that you like within. Yeah, you have a lot of say in the stylist kind of. Yeah, it's all basically you have total say with some guidance.
We should do like
of what looks
another
good.
podcast. It's just like bachelor fashion, and that's it. Like I just want to talk about what people wear.
Okay.
Okay. Can we just do
My
that
goodness,
because
I meant to do.
it's like a whole other
I'm surprised there's not a podcast out there already for that.
bachelor fashion because
Yeah.
the guys, woo,
Matt and Rachel. They clearly just have the hots for each other because they're some really early I'm falling in love with yous. You usually don't get
Yeah.
that on the first date.
no.
They're saying it. I don't really know. And again, there's no criticism towards the two because I'm sure it probably looked the same way with Vanessa, but like, I don't know why these two like each other. Like if you compared Matt and Michelle's date, like that just looked like two people who understood each other and there was a natural chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt and Rachel look like they just are like, I just think you're so hot. They both are very physically attracted to each other, which I've been there.
Yeah.
And they're like, I love you. Because I don't know what else, they're just like, let's just,
yeah.
I'm going to just say
I know
it, man.
it's just like a chemistry thing where
Yeah.
they're just like, I just don't know why, but I
Matt's like, I feel like I've known you forever. I even do. You're so confident. She's like, I'm not confident at all. You know what? Doesn't care. You're hot. I love you.
He doesn't care. He doesn't, and she keeps saying, "I've never been in love before." Right? Didn't Rachel say, "I've never been in love"?
Yeah,
before?
I guess so. And he asked her about that.
And Matt did the same thing as well. But
yeah.
But Michelle seems like, as far as like the trajectory for both being athletes and working with kids, it seems like that they just had a natural kind of lovely fit.
Their brains seem to fit really well
Yeah.
together, and I don't know if Rachel's. I mean, like, nothing against Rachel. It just seems with Michelle, their brains seem to fit together, and Matt and Rachel's body parts seem to want to fit together.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you are correct.
Yeah, and they had a nice date, but it was this like dinner portion was like, hey, I love you.
I love you. I'm gonna leave here with you.
Yeah,
just
it was.
so
It
you
wasn't
know.
like, are there any skeletons in the closet that I need to know about?
He was like, shh, no, don't
Don't.
ruin
No,
it. You're too hot.
Stop talking.
Don't ruin it.
Yes, yes. Please don't speak.
Yeah. Anything you could say could only go downhill from here because you're so hot to me.
Please do not ruin the heart.
Yeah.
Do not ruin the illusion. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure there may have, I don't know.
I'm always so fascinated by their ages. I can't remember, how old is Rachel again?
How old is Rachel? I was actually wondering that. 24.
Baby.
And it's interesting because in the house, I teased her for always complimenting herself. That was just a tease. But she doesn't seem to be neither necessarily well-liked or disliked in the house.
She's just sort of like vanilla.
Yeah. Which is also common for a winner. If you go back and watch other seasons,
Right.
There's certain people who show up and we might not have seen it a lot. So like for all we know, Matt and Rachel night one had a really good conversation, and those were two people who were like, yeah, I might have this. And Matt's like, this, remember her, right? And then
Yes.
every time they hung out, they felt that we didn't get to see it, right? But everyone else is noticing it. But like Rachel's generally not offensive in the house, but everyone's kind of keeping their distance from Rachel because, like they're like, this chick's gonna fucking win, and that there's some that's where there's some vibes there about Rachel maybe winning because she's just kind of floating.
She is.
And she's doing her best, trying not to get everyone to hate her because she's worried that Matt's getting all the attention.
Well, and also
Matt's
after,
giving her all the attention.
Yeah, and after seeing what happened with Sarah, Sarah really had a target on her back.
Yeah.
But she also did cultivate that. I mean, like with her.
The difference between Rachel and Sarah might just be for that Rachel's from Georgia, and I feel like there's a strong Bachelor Nation viewership from Georgia, and maybe Rachel's watched many of seasons, done her homework, where Sarah, Cali girl, was like, I'm pretty enough to go on this show, does have no idea what she's getting into, and maybe Rachel's just smart enough to just float.
But this is the thing, though, that I liked about Sarah, that she had the awareness enough to be like, I am not going to do well in this gladiator pit.
Yeah.
And I need to get back to my dad. All right. Do we need to move on? Next topic.
So we're not even necessarily going back.
No, we're going to go to the farming date next.
A lot like the farming date I had on my season. I don't know. It was like,
what was
Did you
your,
wear
what was your
overalls?
farming
Because if
day?
you didn't, that was a miss.
I did not. Well, this was when when I was the Bachelor, we went to Wisconsin, which was great, which was my hometown. That wasn't the plan. The plan was going to Hilton Head, South Carolina. They had a hurricane show up there, called an audible. So I thought, well, let's go to your hometown. I said, great, you guys should do this every season because it's actually pretty meaningful. But they had planned 0 dates in preparation for that. And so we went roller skating, and then like, hey, Wisconsin, let's just find a farm and have them do some shovel
But
manure.
did you grow up on a farm?
No, at all.
I love that.
It was like, I'm from Wisconsin, but it was like, fine, we'll do this.
It's almost like, let's just put you in front of a big hunk of cheese.
Yeah. There was a cheese
And do a cheese
race.
tasting.
They chased a wheel of cheese on my group date.
Mm-hmm.
Matt's talking about fashion. Matt and I am very guilty of wearing tight jeans, but Matt's jeans on that date with the socks over the jeans there were a couple times I was like, is Matt wearing leggings? I was like, and again, I who am I to talk? But it looked
See? Bachelor fashion.
It was a little tight.
Again,
It was a
let's
little
do
tight,
let's
even
do a
for
Bachelor
me.
fashion show.
we could.
It was tight.
Syndicat's got to get on it.
But also so rude and hilarious when he just goes and randomly grabs Piper. And just like hilarious. So weird. And MJ was just like,
Well, that's not weird. What that is like I've been off on Piper. Allie here in the room has been all over Piper the whole time. 2 weeks ago, I didn't even know Piper was on the show, and then Allie said something about this Piper girl. I was like, huh?
Yeah. Piper, though, I feel like does have a bit of sass to her because.
Oh, yeah. Well, we see a preview
Oh, dude.
of her saying, what the fuck kind of
Yeah.
thing.
But they did some serious reaction shots of her in this past episode.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, she's not going to be messed with.
Yeah, she's a
gotta-
fighter.
Mm-hmm.
But the Matt going to her during an interview is, to me, an authentic moment. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, going back to
I
like,
loved it.
to answer your question that you asked me before,
Please.
who my favorite? Rachel, front runner. Right now, I guess she's my pick to win. But
Mhm. But who would you want to win?
sure, I mean, I will answer those questions always. What I want Matt to want
Pick the one that he wants. Right.
as far as
obviously.
winning.
Well,
Who
no,
I wanna
Nick,
see the
I
rest
mean,
of the
like,
season.
obviously, we
Yeah.
want him to we want it to work out,
Yeah.
right? And who people like.
I don't like
It's
answering
so
the who I
random.
think Matt should pick. I don't like those.
Okay, let me phrase it differently. If you were in his shoes, and these were your options,
I mean,
who would you be more attracted to?
I've been partial to brunettes most of my life, so
Mhm.
like,
That's
certainly
a shame.
Rachel is an attractive person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge fan
She's
of
got
Brie.
a great name.
I
great-
Brie. I feel like I might like Brie. I've been a huge fan of Brie. Brie's beautiful.
I
and,
love Brie.
and just I feel like I would enjoy talking to Brie
Yeah.
a lot.
Abigail. See, I love Abigail.
I want Abigail. I'm worried about Abigail. I've been convinced she was going to be the next Bachelorette, but she had to tell Matt her very sad story
Yeah.
on a group date. And that's not a good
Yeah.
sign. Not a good sign.
What do you mean? But no, I don't. I'm not understanding where
Well,
you're
you
going
know
with
that
this. I don't.
sad stories are an important part of the Bachelor
Absolutely.
franchise.
You mean
And
it only should be reserved for a one-on-one?
yes.
Wow, I love that. That's an unspoken rule.
It's not necessarily a rule. It's just something to look for.
But it coming out
Wow.
on the group date
So
makes
It's
it
not.
seem like
It's
there's
not a certain
one-on-one.
thing. Listen. There, it is a show. So
Absolutely.
when you have a good story to tell,
Mm-hmm.
there's a good chance you might be given an opportunity to tell your story. Now, that's
Right.
all within the confines of who does the Bachelor or Bachelorette like the most? Who do they want to spend the most time with? So there's a lot of
Yeah.
variables at play. I've always, they are making a TV show. They also want that person to find love. They try to make both happen at the same time. Sometimes
Right.
they have to make choices, but, in a perfect world, everyone's happy.
I.e. Claire.
So,
Gale.
yeah. So, if you have a nice story, and then, there's no reason not to like Abigail. She got the first impression rose,
Mhm.
right? So I'm really concerned. Now, there's basically one more week. If my timeline's right, we're going into episode 6. I don't know what week that is. Eventually it's going to true up, but soon we're going to get into second one-on-ones. And and according to the preview, it looks like Piper finally gets her one-on-one.
She hasn't
Right?
had one yet.
No, Piper hasn't.
No.
Oh wow.
And
okay,
everything's
okay.
trending for Piper to get a one-on-one, which means there's
It's
only
trending.
one more one-on-one
Just
left.
like-
And I
It's
think
all
that
trending this way. You guys.
I think
It's
that's
like
why
there's
we
a storm system.
yeah,
coming
it's why
in,
we
and
got
looking like,
it's why we were not given a true 2-on-1 this season. This is such a bullshit 2-on-1. It's the face off. It's like the two people.
Yes.
It kind of came out of nowhere. We're like, wait, we're having a 2-on-1. It's not even a real date, but
Okay.
ultimately,
But
that's
I
all
love the 2-on-1s. I mean, actually,
But that's the same
Exactly.
thing they did on Tasia's.
exactly. We're being shortchanged a real 2-on-1. My guess is because they've had more people, right? There's how many people?
Right. Because they're not doing locations.
They had
right? They're
30
not
women
going-
show up,
yeah.
and then they had 4 more people show up. Apparently, one more girl still showing up, right? That's like 30,
What? Oh yeah, there is
Like
from
Oh, yeah.
from Bachelor in Paradise. right?
Heather.
Or
Yeah.
Heather or
36 people. And so they've had limited one-on-ones. And so my guess is you're going to have 2 one-on-ones. And it looks like it's going to be Piper. And my hope is it's going to also be Abigail. But I don't know. Could be Chelsea. Abigail's really fallen off. It's been a lot of she gets the first impression rose, and then you can take a few weeks off. You can be like, you know what, you're cool, you're not dramatic, you have a great story, you're pretty,
this
you're
is
nice.
why you love sports
Yeah.
because it's also. I mean, this is like a football game in a weird way.
100%.
You're like, okay, so these are the odds that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, you
And
run
here's
the ball in the
flag-
first half
here's-
so you can
here's-
pass.
Right.
the
Okay.
second.
And also
Yeah.
here's listen. There's offsides on this,
Yeah.
so there was a flag on the play. So we need to go back. And she's lost a few yards.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm
Because she hasn't
concerned.
stepped forward.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's like her.
She was
her
at the
dad-
30. right?
Yeah.
Now she's back to the 50s.
Exactly. Her dad left. Her, that's not great, but it's, I hate that in the Bachelor world, you're like, what a great story. And like,
No.
it sucks. I mean, it's terrible.
It's horrible.
But, it's certainly,
they're
it
like
makes
the
you
sad
love
of the
her
story.
more. You're just
Yeah.
like, oh, and like, here she is like, well, I guess I'll just fucking tell you now because,
I need to get my sad story
there
down.
was, for example, when I was the Bachelor, do you remember Christina, girl from Russia, crayons, had to eat it, orphan?
Yes.
Yes.
And she was also on Bachelor Nation, and you guys had history there too, right? I mean, no. What am I saying? Bachelor
broke her
Nation.
But
You
anyway.
guys, I am a skilled. Okay,
So
I'm talking
Christina-
about Bachelor in Paradise.
So,
Didn't you see Christina in Bachelor in Paradise?
No. I didn't.
No, that was Dean.
No, that she was on my season.
What?
Yeah, that's fine. But anyway,
Listen.
as the Bachelor, I knew. So I
First of all, stop shouting.
oh, I'm sorry.
Second of all, I'm kidding. No, keep going. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But it reminded me of Christina, and the only difference is when I kind of knew a little bit about Christina's story. I didn't know the details, but I knew there was something there, and
some serious
Yeah.
shit done there.
and I was just like, and so like I just knew when she was going to get a one-on-one. And you saw this with Matt with Rachel. It's like, hey, you're gonna get time. But with Christina, there was a time where I was just like, don't tell me now. Just trust me.
Yeah.
I literally had to be like, don't tell me your story. Because tomorrow I'm,
Yes.
and Matt was just like, okay. And so maybe they just let Abigail do it because maybe there's more.
Yeah.
Maybe Abigail's going to get that much more time because that's my hope because I want her to be the Bachelorette. But if she doesn't get a one-on-one, I don't know. I'm worried.
I think it would be great to have. I feel like I pride myself on being able to step out of the show and look at it more as a producer, but I didn't see that she ruined that opportunity to have her story be told on a one-on-one, just like I didn't see it in your season either with
Yeah.
Christina and all that stuff. Like that's fascinating for me to
I mean, ultimately, I've been wrong before, and it doesn't always happen that way. And you still got to hear her story,
yeah.
so I guess that's okay. And maybe there is more.
Yeah.
But if there has to be more, because if she does get a one-on-one, the question is, what do they talk about? Now, in a normal situation, she'd be like, there's lots to talk about, but we don't want to watch that.
Right.
Like, we don't, we want to hear about Abigail.
Yeah.
And we want to hear why she deserves love. And we decided that the only way you deserve love is if you've had tragedy.
Right. If you are
Everyone else doesn't deserve it yet.
Right. If you are, I'm going back to Tayshia's season, the guy that she ended up with, who I absolutely adored.
Zach.
Zach.
Oh my gosh. You guys, did you like Zach? I was crazy about Zach, which isn't surprising. But he too had a very authentic, real struggle that he had gone through that made you root for him.
Mhm.
That you were like, this guy, you really wanted him to find some happiness.
It's kind of like why Rachel might be wonderful and interesting, but because they are just so into each other physically, they're just like, I don't need to tell you about my story. I know you like me because my face, and you're like, I don't need to talk about it, and so you don't.
But this is the question: how long is that going to last if they do end up together?
It just depends on. It's more of a what will they find out afterwards.
Hopefully, they'll continue to be
Yeah.
interested.
There could be a lot of things. They could be perfect for each other.
Yeah.
We don't know that. They're just so excited about how hot each other is.
Well, yeah.
They're not taking the time.
And that's what's so great. And I think why this show has been around for so long is because love is so elusive and you don't. Crazier things have happened, right?
Yeah.
Strange people end up together and they end up working. And I mean, the fact that Ashley and
Jared
are together still blows my mind to this day. And I'm
Also
so
one of the most
happy.
I'm having dinner with them
Produced,
tonight.
messed up produced moments ever on that show.
But I'm so happy that it has. But
When they had Jared and Ashley come to get engaged on Paradise, and they had her ex stand up in that cabana and watch the two of them get engaged, that was like a producer's.
That was a little fucked up.
It was so fucked up.
there are a lot of fucked up moments, but it's also why we keep coming back and
Yes.
watching the show. But
Good television. totally fucked up.
I am very
You get a
happy
free
for
ring
Ashley
out of
and
it,
Jared.
you know. Like I guess you
I was
take.
just like,
Yeah. No, I'm
God.
very
But,
happy
yeah.
for them. But I wow.
Where do we think Britney's in the conversation, or was she ultimately just there to bring out this drama? Do you think Matt has a real interest in her? Where do you think?
don't.
What do you think Matt's? So like that's the thing. Where do
am
you
I
think
at?
Matt's top 6 are? Give me Matt's top
Okay,
6.
Matt's top 6. I would say I think I'm like projecting. I love Abigail. But I think Rachel, like we had said. No. I think Piper, Rachel, Serena P. Yeah. Wow, top 6. That's tough.
Yeah.
Because
no, it's more tough than other times because
this is a tough group.
Yeah.
Actually, there's not a lot of likable people. do you like that? I mean, there's not there. It's a tough group. You know what I mean? Like they've, I do like Brie.
Yeah.
So
Michelle?
I think Brie. Oh my
Abigail?
gosh, why didn't I say Michelle?
It's just a
But
lot.
these are alphabetical.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think for sure Michelle. I think for sure Rachel, Abigail, Brie, Piper. I don't think Maggie's gonna. This is what I should go through. I don't think Maggie, MJ, Ryan,
Maggie. I mean, like
Serena
I
C.
just forget that Maggie's still there.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden you're just like, oh, Maggie.
I
What
know.
a delightful surprise.
I think that they're not gonna make it. And Brittany, I think Brittany kind of led with her sexuality, which is fine, and I think that was kind of like I think that was a way for her to get noticed. That was calculated.
Sure.
But if she can back that up with substance, that'll be the takeaway.
I don't think
Like,
Matt's
we'll
a
see
very
what's gonna
sexual
happen.
guy. Like in general.
No,
like,
he
I
doesn't.
I think he's a conservative
Yeah.
guy. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think he's more attracted to the more reserved.
To the people that he
Yeah.
views as virtuous or
Yeah.
yeah. But I think Rachel and Michelle right now are the top 2.
It's like Kit throws me off because she got a 101.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt seems, kind of into her, I guess.
And she was actually very endearing. And I really liked it in that moment when he said, so what's it going to be like after this? And she said, more of this. And he didn't get it at
Well,
first,
that told
remember?
me that Matt was like, he didn't get it because had Rachel said that, he'd been like, yep.
Exactly. And I liked when you had said before, if he says you're pretty and thank you for sharing,
Thank you for sharing.
that he's not into you.
Because
he's not going to get down.
because
He
when
did
Kit
say
said
he
that
could see that.
his head was something else. He was thinking about what he should say or the next line. He was like,
Yeah.
Rachel says something. He's just like, yeah, babe, it's
And-
going to be just like this. And,
Yeah.
But he
With-
said it felt natural with a Kit.
Of
He's
course.
like, this feels so
don't
natural.
care
I
what
forget
he
that
says.
it's
But
not
it's
at my house.
But it's also kind of like it's also like dating like a high school girl. I feel like with Kit a
Yeah.
little bit. Like she's very young.
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself, do I really want
Well, she's not only young, but in addition to being young, the assumption is maybe, I don't know, Kit, but there's been a little bit of shelter and a lack of just kind of, she's had a nice life and that's great. And with a
Yes.
nice life, sometimes sometimes conflict gives you perspective and you learn through tragedy lessons and you mature. And I don't know if Kit's really, she got really sad and excited when she thought a guy like listened to her.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I told a producer that I want to make food and Matt's in love
And
with me.
Matt wants to make food with me. It's really kind that he heard me.
Yeah.
I know.
Let's talk about MJ for a second.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on MJ?
I mean, I think I liked her in the beginning. I thought she was cool and down to earth. And then I feel like the insecurities of the new girls coming in shoved her over the edge a bit. And then she became really calculated and vindictive. And for me, it was a big moment when they knew they had participated in the conversations with Anna and Victoria. And then she stands up and says after Matt has announced that he's heard these things have gone down at the cocktail party, and he says, and she said, well, we just have to tell him it's not a toxic environment in the house. We just have to make him feel good. I was like, all right, I'm done. And I'm done. And that's just me in general. Like if somebody does something with me that I find like you can't come back from that. And it's just like, and we're done.
I just want
Thank
MJ to know that when saying you lead with your actions is not an explanation for anything.
Yeah.
Especially an accusation of you saying something.
Mm-hmm.
They were accusing of MJ of saying something. She's like, but I lead with my actions. I'm like, I don't know what that means. And she just kept saying
Yeah.
it. She's like, did you say JV?
And she's a leader.
But no, what do you mean? I'm a leader. I lead with my actions. I don't, it doesn't matter what I said. I lead. I do things.
Yeah.
I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's like, yeah, you know, there haven't been any actions. You don't do anything. You're just sitting and waiting for him to ask you to go on a date.
Yeah. And
Just, you know, like they're what actions? And you've participated in these conversations with these
she just does them.
women. Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what her actions are, but we know she does
She
them.
does them. She has a lot of actions.
So it doesn't matter what she says because that doesn't matter. Like it's almost as what she was trying to say is, I can say anything because my words don't matter. It's my actions that do. And I think she thinks that, I guess, less smarter people will believe.
I mean,
that.
I think
don't know.
we're really diving into this, but I think she was just trying to save her ass in that moment. She was going to say anything to get out of being like, I shouldn't have said the things that I said. And
She
I'm
just said it with
accountable.
such conviction over and over and
Yeah.
over. So like it means like she like, I guess believed, like she thought
Yeah,
she
it's
was
like Trump.
convincing.
It's like
Yeah.
if I just say it enough, they're going to believe
Yeah.
it.
I also thought is it Jasenia?
Jasenia.
Jasenia.
Handled herself pretty well. I like her.
Yeah, I honestly, I couldn't tell you anything about Jasenia right now. I don't remember.
All we knew last week is that she was one of the few, if not only ones, that have gotten no validation from Matt and chose not to be part of the Mean Girl group, which I
Yeah.
thought was, you know,
Oh yes, Jasenia.
This
Prop-
week,
And
she's
she
got
is
the line of
beautiful.
the lines.
She did
She's beautiful.
actually call out, didn't she? She had the blue dress on, right, in this
Yeah.
last cocktail
Yeah,
party.
she was like, "You've got three faces."
Yes, to MJ, right?
she's
Yeah.
she's
yeah,
she's calm,
She's very smart. She's
but
sort of-
also like she's got that bite.
yeah, she could like, come from the behind.
But she's like
from
she
behind
was
the rest of the
totally
pack.
right. Like right, we totally sided with her on that.
Yeah, she was like, "There's three versions of you: you at the house, you with Matt, you on camera, and you'll see the truth when you watch this back."
Yeah, I kind of like
Yes.
that.
That
I
was really.
liked it.
Yeah,
And then
that
what
was
I
ac-
loved about it is because MJ was like, I'm
Yeah.
not having this conversation. Like, you knew you win when they're just like, we're done here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
MJ.
MJ is yeah, I think her true colors are starting to come out.
Who once MJ goes home, I'm really curious because every time, like, for example, like an Anna and a Victoria leaves and they both left, I'm always wondering, like, who's next?
Who's the next
Right.
villain?
Who's going to be the next villain?
Who's
Oh, yeah.
going to be the next person who pisses everyone off, right? And
Yeah.
we're getting to that point where it's going to be more about love and we won't require the drama, but there's definitely one more week. I wonder if it's going to be Katie a little bit. I wonder if
Oh,
Well, they did allude to that in
Yeah.
the preview a little bit.
really?
Because
Because I
somebody
think
in the preview was like, "You're the one stirring the pot. You're the one putting the droplets of things
Yeah.
everywhere."
well, remember Heather's going to come in. Heather Martin's going
that's
to
right.
come in.
Yeah, thank you for
And they're going to
reminding
be like, wow, there's a new girl that's coming in again. And then Tyler's going to come in, so they don't really necessarily need to, like, that'll kind of be a distraction. So
Well,
who's
yeah,
going to be the villain?
I'm curious. the girls may never see Tyler. Like they never, who knows?
Oh, like they never saw JoJo?
Yeah,
Or
or
what, she
well,
was-
they
she
saw
was filling
Ben,
in,
but
yeah.
like they may or may
Like
not.
Rachel.
Yeah, it's possible. It could be like a conversation with your best friend, and like that's
yeah.
just more
I
about.
also love when they're like, my best friend, who just also happens to be somebody that was on The Bachelor and might be a correspondent for for an entertainment television show, is going to come talk to me.
What are you gonna do?
Rachel
I
Lindsay,
think those
yep.
two are actually best friends, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Tyler and Matt.
Oh no. I do feel like those
No.
two are, but I'm talking about Rachel Lindsay coming and talking too.
Oh yeah, I
I'm
mean, listen,
switching seasons.
she's they're not gonna
Rotation.
bring in. Yeah, and I don't think it was never Rachel's my best friend. It is Rachel's been here before.
Okay, thank
We're
you.
friendly.
Yeah, you're okay. Yeah.
You know, they're deaf. I think it's safe to say they're not best friends.
Okay, you're right.
Um,
I stand corrected.
as far as Heather coming in, I mean, I'm really curious how
What's
that
the
went down.
backstory on that? Like, is it?
I'm guessing here, but I do know she's good friends with Hannah Brown. There is some connection between Hannah Brown, Tyler, and Matt. They I know Hannah Brown knows Matt,
Mm-hmm.
Heather, and so that's the connection. It's through
Okay.
Hannah Brown,
So they dated or they hooked up, at
or
some
they
point?
met.
Okay.
Yeah, and Matt was nice to her, and she thought I would love to go on the show.
I'd like to. Yeah.
I'm friends with Hannah Brown. I've been on your show before, and
Heather
they.
Maney-
My guess is she probably let the producers know she's interested in Matt, and they were like, "Cool."
She's like, I would like another stab at being on television.
And then they gave her an opportunity to show up. She probably had no idea at what time they were. I mean, it's a bad beat. They made her drive in a minivan in week 6. I mean,
That's like
yeah.
on Bachelor in Paradise when you come in, like those people that
the
come
last
in.
like it's everyone's. It's like
Yeah.
Fantasy Suite week, and someone comes down, who showed up
Yes.
week 1, and you're just like, "Oh, sorry, Mo.
This is a bad
Yeah.
producer move.
It doesn't make much sense. I don't get the point of it,
Mm-hmm.
other than like, even as a viewer, right? Like
Yeah.
Heather wasn't that big of a character on her respective season. That's not a criticism of Heather, but she was never been kissed.
How dare
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, no.
So there's not really compelling there.
Mhm.
So she wasn't this, oh my God, so-and-so's back. It's like Heather. So I don't even give it from the preview. Like, is anyone really going to tune in for sure next
Heather?
Monday
Also, it's
just
like,
because
they're
Heather
even gonna
shows
let
up?
her on the property.
It could be one of those things
I do
too.
love that it looks like they may have
Because
stopped
like
her at the
she
gate.
like drives up and it's
In
like
a minivan,
okay.
in
No,
a
and she's
white
gonna, like,
minivan.
Is she gonna be magically have
Well,
been quarantining?
right,
And
they're gonna
magically
take her
been tested
temperature.
when she gets there.
The
Like
security
like,
guard's
what's
gonna
the
come out
deal?
and take
Yeah.
her
No, she's been
temperature.
sitting in a hotel room, like in paradise, for God knows how
Yeah.
long, and they finally
Really?
brought her.
Is that what happens?
Well, yeah, but in
You
COVID,
just- oh, in COVID.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, are they doing a paradise?
I think they hope to. Yeah, she showed up, and just like that's what's so bizarre about the OGs and the newbies and the OGs is like all those girls showed up at the same time.
Well, yeah, and it's also sad that they can't.
Heather might not have showed up at the same time, but she's been there for a while.
Yeah, no, and the focus being that I'm so where they're so offended by these new women that came in, as if and they're mad at the women, whereas it's like there's no point for just focus on Matt
Yeah.
and let go of this idea that the women are somehow at fault.
When I went on the show the first time, I was always like, I'll just worry. I mean, I had 10 siblings, and I only worried about myself. So maybe I was that I had training
I
at
had
a young
6
age.
siblings. Yes,
I
yeah.
was surprised how many men on
Mhm.
Andy's season. I was just like, why do you care about this?
that you
it's-
came in.
Well, on it and on Caitlin's season, sure, but just
Yeah.
about just
Oh, yeah.
anything, drama, or things that were just like you realize.
Well, that's why Peter did
Yeah.
so well in his season too, because he just kept focused on when he was on The
Hannah?
Bachelorette.
Hannah's season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even though Hannah ended up not picking him, he stuck. He just kept his eye, like he just stayed on his spot, and was able to stay focused on himself.
Yeah, but yeah, tough beat for Heather. It's probably not going to go well. She's probably really mad at the producers, is my guess.
I want to talk more about Matt's not giving a very sexual vibe. It doesn't feel like he's got any game in a
Yeah.
weird way, because it's like when you watch certain people connect, right? When you see them making out, you get a feeling of like, this is good.
Yeah.
But you don't really have that sense. We haven't had a moment like that with Matt.
You would look at Matt and think, this guy must get a bunch of action,
Right.
right? He's in his mid to late 20s, so he's been he's old enough to have some experience.
Yeah.
He's good looking. He played sports in college. Everything's set up for him to like have as much sex as he wants to.
hmm
And it sounds like he has chosen not to.
Yeah.
So I guess he's just not that sexual.
I mean, have we seen any kind of real chemistry, physical chemistry with him? And
It doesn't.
yet?
No, it doesn't. Well, even with Rachel, it seems a bit like puppy love. It seems almost
Yeah.
high school
Kind of
type
like an
of like,
immature kind of.
you're
yeah.
hot, I love you. It's that simple. I mean, yeah, it does come across that way.
Yeah.
Although when he's with Michelle, there was something about him on a date with Michelle that made me like Matt more. And not that I didn't like Matt, not that I needed a reason not to like him more, but it was like I saw a mature connection. And with Rachel, it seemed, but who knows?
No, I think you're absolutely right that they did have a more mature connection. That you're like, oh, I could see them as a couple.
You know, he doesn't. I don't know why he doesn't have a ton of dating experience. Because he also could be not sexual, but have had like 4 serious girlfriends.
But he's also rather spiritual, right, and religious.
He said a prayer. He
did.
That we almost.
And Rachel was very moved by that.
She
so
was.
maybe they have talked in the shadows about
what I loved about that and
the performance of that.
Well, she cried, and then the next week, and then there was that beat where someone's like, "Are you religious?" She's like, "Well, you know." And then like the next week, she cried over paintball, which it was just funny. Yeah, it was just.
It's like, oh, you like the color blue? I'm so into blue. Like I love blue.
Yeah,
I'm
but I
just
don't
gonna
think
like
it's
whatever you
necessarily
like.
disingenuous from Rachel. I think it's a strong environment of which it's easy to get caught up in. Whoever Matt picked it's tough. Like Matt's done a phenomenal job having no experience in this crazy world, right? You get a little bit of a boot camp going on the previous season, and this is all
and then
new
you
to
get picked to become.
this is all new to Matt, doing a great job. But so much about this experience, especially any chance that you have to make a relationship work, comes after you're done filming.
Yeah.
It's the hardest part. It's
that's what I'm.
You know, it's all your eyes are on you, and Matt's well liked, so like it's going well now. But whoever he picked, if it's Rachel, you know, Matt's out there doing these interviews, you know, it's a lot. It takes a lot of it brings out a lot of jealousy, and then if Rachel won, whoever the winner is, they tend to get put on an island by the other women in the group chats of the all hanging out, because it's like, well, all the other women have something in common.
Mm-hmm.
Matt didn't pick them. And the winner, it's kind of like there might be friends with, but the winner always seems to like not make as many close friends as the non-winners. If Bree's the winner or Michelle's the winner, I guess what I'm trying to say, I could see them handling it better than Rachel.
Yeah.
And that's not a
because
criticism of Rachel.
Yeah,
It's
you
just
are
she's maybe more
isolated.
younger. She seems maybe youthful in her approach.
She does seem emotionally more immature than Michelle.
Yeah, I don't know really her dating history. You know, and maybe that might be unfair to say about Rachel, but we just don't know.
Well, she also has said that she has never been in love.
There you go. So she has no history is all we know.
Right.
So
for me, that doesn't bode well.
So she gets engaged, and all of a sudden can't talk. Only can hang out a couple times.
And then you see the season.
Gotta
if you're
rewatch
watching
it
it on the TV, then you're like, oh my God, he's been kissing this woman. He's been talking to her and telling her that he likes her.
And the tough part about Matt.
And your brain, that's what it takes me all back to like she's in her 20s. And how can she process that?
And there's
it's just.
What's really hard too is like
Crazy.
I'm watching it and I'm looking at Matt and go, great job, Matt. He's very convincing.
Yeah.
I'm even watching it just like, man, wow, you're just Piper. Wow, you seem like you might pick Piper. Michelle. That's all great. As far as a viewer, great.
Yeah.
Whoever Matt picked is going to be like, what the fuck? You said you didn't mean it. And he's, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
and that might be true. It's so hard to watch back, and it's
Well, and
he
I
might be
think-
paying for it now. Anna, right? We saw the worst of Anna.
Exactly.
I'm sure, I hope, and because it was such a specific thing, and it was a bad example, but she might have so many great qualities.
Exactly.
But that was such a one really bad moment for
Yeah.
her. We're very tough on her because it was like, oh, that says a lot, but still one example, and she can redeem herself. for
Well,
that.
and also you have that empathy. Just take it and say, I wish I hadn't done it.
I could see a redemption opportunity for Anna on Paradise,
Yeah.
and
Me too.
I don't want to see Victoria on Paradise.
No, neither.
What
I
it-
don't.
We've seen this act. I don't.
Well, I think because with Victoria, you know something's not right. Does that make sense? Like there needs to be a lot of work. This is just my opinion, and I could be wrong, but there needs to be a lot of work that needs to go into Victoria. But with Anna, you could say she could have this kind of the same ability to say, wow, okay, I really had to check myself. And I'm so grateful that happened because I got to look at where my insecurities are and how I let that get the better of me. And this is what I can do moving forward. So I guess the reason I'm trying to tie it all into, let's say he does pick Rachel, it doesn't go well. This is weirdly a great opportunity for her to look at why she went on the show in the first place.
The show has evolved in such a way over the years. Through the world has evolved in such a way. Social media everything's different now. Everything's in your face. Everything. It's just harder to get away. It's harder to decompress. But it's a tough world because it's in their face no matter what. I mean, I've seen a bunch of posts out there about the contestants. Now everyone is a super sleuth, and if you wrong someone in high school, watch out because it's going to show up on TikTok and someone's going to try to get you canceled because you see a bunch of crazy shit, and then people will DM it to me and want me to out some person because they've been accused of something they did in high school or because they think their parents voted a certain way. It's fucking nuts, know? And so, it's a really challenging environment to be in for all those reasons.
There's just so much hyper focus in a way that when we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, you would still be focused on other things. Like there could be the Super Bowl's coming, right? Or there's more but now these guys are just in a fishbowl. Does that make sense? Because it's the pandemic and so everybody's just watching their TV. My favorite thing is when somebody pops up in the rose ceremony and I'm like, I've never seen them before.
But that feels like
Who's
it's
that
happening with
person?
people who've actually gotten actual time this season because there's just so many. Matt keeps telling Chelsea, all he tells Chelsea is that he's happy she's there.
Yes.
I just want you to know.
Yep.
I'm happy
you're here.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. And it seems fine with her because she's immediately.
Well, that's the
great.
thing. What do they regurgitate that into in their minds?
He's happy as well.
I'm going to get married.
He's happy. Well,
I'm
I mean,
so
but so she
excited.
also got a group date rose. Chelsea's getting these little bits of validation. I mean, other than a hot makeout with
But again-
Piper, they've gotten about the same.
Yep. But I think it's still it translates into I'm happy you're here to we're going to get married.
Usually I can pinpoint a top 6. I'm not confident necessarily with this one. Rachel,
Okay.
Abigail, Bree, Michelle, Serena P, Kit.
Is your 6th?
I'm concerned.
Is your pinky finger pick?
Yeah, I'm concerned because I said that the only thing I'm sure of this season is that Katie is going to be top 6, and
But you didn't add her to your top 6 right now.
I know. Yeah,
Oh, you mean that's...
I'm concerned about my prediction.
Oh, I see.
But Katie is good TV. So of all those women that I just listed, that see Piper. I didn't even mention Piper.
You didn't mention Piper.
Fuck. So that's so again.
This
This is how hard. This is
I
how
didn't mention Piper?
this is how hard it is
Fuck.
so you got Rachel, Bree, Abigail, Piper, Serena P, Michelle,
Mm-hmm.
and Kit.
Yeah.
That's 6. We've seen some moments between Matt and these girls. All of those women I mentioned, it wouldn't
Okay,
shock me
let's
that could
go
be in the
to-
top 4.
Okay, but top 2? Who do you think are going to be the top 2? Just if you had to. Come on, Nick. I'm just saying, just wave a magic wand.
Rachel and either Bree, Piper, or Michelle.
I think the top 2 are Rachel and Michelle. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that
Yeah.
right now, where I'm at today. Next week, when I come back, because I know you're going to ask me back,
Yeah.
is I don't know. I think Piper could come in.
Because the only time we've seen Piper in this whole season is basically Matt being very physically attracted. The very little bit of
Mm-hmm.
the very little bit of physical chemistry that Matt has shown has been with Piper,
Do you
and we
think-
haven't seen Piper kind of anywhere else.
Do you think he's going to have sex with the women in the fantasy suites?
Great question.
Yeah, it's your podcast.
I think he's going to have sex with just his winner,
Just his winner? Did you?
just my winner.
Just your winner?
I hate to say winner. The person I was,
Winner.
yeah, hard to do, by the way. Hard to do.
I
Oh, my
am
goodness.
so excited about what you just said.
What, hard to do?
No, I
That he
didn't
just
know
had-
that.
that he
And
had
that's
sex
kind of
with
like
his-
amazing information.
Well, I think
That's
Because I
common.
can't imagine that it's easy to sit
But
in a room with
I've
a girl.
thought about this a lot, and I think because I'm older now and have been married twice, for God's sakes, I feel like, I was always this very appropriate person, and I feel like I always wonder how they're going to operate because I feel like sex is such an important aspect of your relationship, and you better see if you vibe together, and it's awesome. It's not the whole thing, but it's a good amount of it. And so I always wonder what that's like when you're trying to make these decisions. I don't know. I'm the person that's always like, no, have sex with all of them.
Yeah.
Which just sounds, and I don't think it's being a whore. I think it's like if you're going to make these decisions and you have this opportunity.
Well, it's tough because you want to make it work.
Yeah.
You have it's
But
it's-
also
it's
you
tougher
have to
for the-
deal with the person that you are going to propose to, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to
well,
say,
that's your biggest
I
concern.
slept with
That's your biggest concern.
the other
what's
two
what's
gals.
really tough
Yeah.
is that it's tougher for The Bachelor because of the social double standards that we have.
Yeah.
Is that all the women?
You think it's tougher for The Bachelor than for The Bachelorette? If you sleep with all 4 of those guys,
Here's what I'm saying
that
is
is bad news bears.
I'm talking about for The Bachelor in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, you could argue it's much harder for The Bachelorette for the viewers and the sex shaming and slut shaming that goes on in our society. But while filming, it's hard because all the women just assume you're a dude, you want to fuck. And I've been horned up for so long that it's just really hard to do because there's an expectation that as a girl, if I want to have sex, you're going to like there's this double standard. And as a guy, you're just like, I don't know if the Bachelorette wants to have sex with me. I'm not going to assume.
And also you're managing a lot of stress. And that's like just if your circuits are scrambled, you're not going to be able to.
You're always worried.
You're not going to be able to perform anyway.
Well,
because
that's
you've
a whole
got
nother.
so many
It's a
other
whole
things
another
going
thing.
on.
But you have to basically if you're not going to
And
sleep
you
with
don't know
that,
each other.
if you're not going to sleep with anyone, you have to try to convince them that you really like them, but don't want to have sex with them.
Yeah.
And you want them to wake up and be like, he still might pick me. Hard to
And
do.
in a way, I feel like they should be down with that. They should be able to be like, it's okay. I've only known you, whatever.
But at this point in the world, they have so many expectations. It's just it's a mess.
I just can't wait to see the seniors in the fantasy suites.
Yeah, senior bachelor.
Are they going to use protection?
Probably not.
Will all the
Oh,
women
God.
have all of their reproductive organs?
I
don't
just-
know.
I
They're not
hope-
going to be worried about getting pregnant.
They have to cast a really horny old guy, right? Like borderline inappropriate. He's just like, I'm old. It
Or-
doesn't fucking matter.
Or it could just be very sweet, where they're just
well,
looking
that
for a
too. But if we're
companion,
looking
right?
for, I mean, if we're trying to build out a show, I want the sweet story, and then I want the horny
I do think I would love
old
to.
dude.
Yes, I would love to see people on the seniors that are widows that are also, or that have kids that are like, they don't want me to come on the show, and I don't know. I think that's actually like going to be lightning in a bottle.
Well, Rachel, we do have to go, unfortunately.
I'm disappointed.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter.
And all over TV and movies, all over Netflix.
I am. We have the second half of season 5 coming out on for Lucifer sometime this year. They haven't told us. And then we have a 6th season that we're in the middle of shooting. During the
You're shooting right now?
Which is crazy. Yeah. We get back to work tomorrow. And that's a whole nother show.
Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to send your questions at asknick@castme.com. Cast with a K for Ask Nick episodes. And we will be back tomorrow. Tune in on Wednesday for Kelly Me Lee from Bling Empire. You won't want to miss that. I'm sure you're all checking that out on the old Netflix, one of the hot new reality TV bingeable, watchable shows out there. She is a fantastic and very interesting person. Don't forget to send your questions. Ask Nick, castme.com. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on Wednesday.
You're crazy.
Bye.
Bye.